General Hospital spoilers reveal that Jason begins to realize the gravity of the situation when Jocelyn reports to him about her findings regarding Austin's mysterious death. Jocelyn, with her sharp instincts and determination to find the truth, has gathered important information that suggests that Austin's death was not as simple as everyone thought. She believes Cyrus is behind it all, and if so, this may just be the tip of the iceberg in a much larger conspiracy. The more Jason thinks about Jocelyn's facts, the more he feels that something is not right. Austin is not the type to be eliminated without a specific reason. If Cyrus is truly involved in the case, then he must have a larger purpose, perhaps to hide something or to send a message to those who dare to challenge him. But what is more troubling is the uncanny coincidence between Austin's death and Cyrus' recent actions. Without hesitation, Jason decided to go to Austin's old house to search for clues. He knew that if there was any evidence left, it could help him uncover the truth about Austin's death as well as unravel Cyrus' hidden plans. However, returning to this place meant that Jason was putting himself in the crosshairs of those who might not want the truth to be exposed. When Jason arrived at the old house, the atmosphere around it had an eerie feeling, as if someone was still lurking in the shadows. The house had been abandoned for a while, but Jason could sense that someone had been there recently. Traces of movement, footprints on the ground, and some of the objects that had been disturbed all suggested that the place was not as abandoned as everyone thought. In a split second, Jason realized that he was not alone. A shadow passed by the window, and he immediately went on the defensive. Is this just a random stranger here, or is Jason walking straight into a trap? What's certain is that Jason is getting too close to the truth, and if Cyrus is behind it all, he won't let Jason off the hook. Jason's investigation is no longer a simple search for information, it's become a fight for survival, where even the slightest mistake could lead to disaster. The biggest question now is, what will Jason find in Austin's house? And can he get out of there before the shadowy figures can stop him? One thing's for sure, Port Charles is on the brink of a dangerous storm, and Jason may be the only one who can stop it before it's too late. Jason takes his investigation to the next level, determined to bring Cyrus down once and for all. After gathering vital clues from Jocelyn and uncovering shady details at Austin's old house, Jason knows he can't stop here. This fight is no longer about finding the truth, it's about taking down his enemy before he can strike first. Cyrus, cunning and far-sighted as he isn't sitting around waiting to be exposed. He's aware that Jason is getting closer to the dark secrets he's been trying to hide. Not just about Austin's death, but also about the illegal operations Cyrus has been expanding in the shadows. He knows that Jason is more than just a threat, he's the only one who can truly destroy him. And so he sets out to trap Jason before he can strike. Cyrus sets his plan in motion with exquisite precision. He leaves false clues, making Jason believe he's on the right track, when in reality he's walking into a deadly trap. Sources Jason once trusted start giving him false information. Locations he thought would hold evidence are cleared before he arrives. And more importantly, Jason starts to feel like he's being followed. As Jason begins to piece things together, he realizes something's wrong. Cyrus has never given up so easily, not the sign of someone being cornered, but of someone controlling the game. But before Jason can change tactics, he realizes he's walked too far into Cyrus's trap. An ambush occurs as Jason pursues a vital lead. People he once believed were Cyrus's regular henchmen now appear with a clear plan. Eliminate him on the spot. But Jason is no pushover. With his skills and keen instincts, he fights his way out of the trap, but just when he thinks he's safe, something even more terrifying happens. Cyrus, with a dangerous smile, appears from the shadows. He doesn't need to shoot Jason or knock him out, he has something more dangerous than brute force in his grasp, a secret that, if made public, could destroy everything Jason has built. Jason is faced with a difficult choice. He can continue to fight, take the risk and confront Cyrus head-on, or he can find a way to escape and change his strategy before things go too far. But Jason knows one thing, Cyrus doesn't just want to eliminate him, he wants to make him the loser in this game. Port Charles is on the brink of a major storm, and Jason knows that if he doesn't act quickly, things could fall into Cyrus' hands. But the real question is, will he have enough time to turn things around before it's too late? One thing is certain, the war between Jason and Cyrus has never been this tense, and this time, just one wrong move could cost Jason everything. Jason never expected to be defeated like this. Over the years, he had been through countless life and death battles, intense confrontations, but he had never felt so helpless as he did now. As he stepped out of a dark alley, approaching a key location in the Cyrus investigation, a dark figure rushed forward at such a speed that he had no time to react. Before Jason could draw his gun or dodge, the sharp blade had stabbed straight into his side. Intense pain spread throughout his body, warm blood quickly seeping through his clothes. His legs wobbled, but with a strong survival instinct, Jason immediately turned around, trying to grab the attacker. But the man disappeared as quickly as he appeared, leaving Jason in a critical condition, in the middle of a deserted and dangerous street. Cyrus. Jason didn't have to think long to know that this was Cyrus's warning. He wasn't the type to do it himself, but he knew how to command his most loyal followers to do it for him. This wasn't just an attack, it was a clear message: I can kill you at any time. Jason clutched at his wound, feeling his breathing grow heavier. He knew he couldn't afford to lose too much blood right there. But it wasn't just the wound. The feeling of being watched was suddenly more acute than ever. There wasn't just one attacker. This wasn't a solo attack, it was a trap. Jason gritted his teeth, forcing himself to move. He knew that if he didn't act now, there would be more, and this time, they wouldn't stop at just one stab. He staggered against a nearby wall, trying to calm himself. His mind was racing. He couldn't go to the hospital, Cyrus had someone there. He couldn't go back to his apartment either, it was definitely being watched. Carly. The first name that came to mind. She could be the only one who could help him right now. But if he dragged her into this, she'd be in danger. He couldn't let that happen. Jason took a deep breath, feeling the pain spread from his wound. He had to find a safe place, had to get away before the men returned to finish their job. But just as he was about to leave, a black car suddenly stopped at the end of the street. The door swung open, and Jason realized it wasn't a coincidence. He'd been right, he wasn't the only one here. His heart pounded as he saw a group of men get out of the car, men he recognized as Cyrus's loyal men. They didn't rush to attack, but Jason knew, this was his only chance to catch him, when he was at his weakest. He backed away, trying to find an escape route, but the streets around him were eerily quiet. It seemed Port Charles was holding its breath, waiting for his next move. If he didn't act now, this might be his last chance to fight. Jason gritted his teeth, his hand tightening on the gun in his jacket pocket. He knew he couldn't go down now. And if Cyrus thought he could finish him with just one stab, he was making the biggest mistake of his life. Port Charles was about to witness a real fight, and this time, Jason wasn't going to let Cyrus get the first shot again. Jason tried his best to escape the dangerous situation, but the wound was too deep, and the blood was too much. As his steps began to become heavy, his vision blurred, he knew that his body was fighting him. The pain was not only in the stab wound, but also spread throughout his body, slowing his reflexes, causing him to gradually lose control. Although his survival instinct always helped him get through the most difficult situations, this time, he could not escape by himself. A car suddenly appeared around the corner, the car door opened, and before Jason could react, he felt his body being pulled inside. For a moment, he did not know if it was friend or foe, but he was too weak to resist. His breathing was heavy, blood continued to flow, and the surrounding sounds began to become blurry. When the car rushed to the hospital, Jason was only vaguely conscious. He could not remember who took him away, but he heard screams around him as the car stopped at the hospital gate. The emergency lights flashed, the car door swung open, and a panicked voice said, "Help. He's losing too much blood." Hands quickly shoved him inside, ceiling lights flashing above his head as the stretcher was wheeled through the hospital hallway. Jason tried to open his eyes, tried to focus, but everything was a blur. He could feel hands touching him, voices, but he couldn't make out what they were saying. Doctors and nurses rushed around, medical equipment being brought in urgently. Jason's heart rate was failing, forcing the medical team to quickly operate. It was a race against time, because the wound was too deep and the blood loss was too great. A second's delay could mean his death. As news of Jason's condition spread, those close to him began to pour into the hospital. Carly rushed into the waiting room, her face filled with worry and anger. Jocelyn shook at the news, feeling guilty for dragging Jason into this investigation. Sonny, battling his own issues, couldn't sit still when he heard Jason might not make it. But what was more troubling was Cyrus's reaction. When he heard Jason was in the hospital, he didn't show any panic or concern. Instead, he just smiled. Good. That's one big hurdle out of the way. Cyrus didn't just want Jason hurt, he wanted him gone forever. And if Jason didn't make it this time, he would have the opportunity to continue expanding his power with no one to stop him. But if Jason survived, Cyrus would soon realize that he had made the biggest mistake of all. Once Jason recovered, there would be no forgiveness, only a vengeance the likes of which poor Charles had never seen. But the question now was, can Jason survive this critical condition? And if he wakes, will he be strong enough to fight, or will this be the first time his enemy truly wins? Poor Charles is in the midst of a great storm, and everyone is holding their breath waiting to see what happens. Can Jason Morgan return, or will this be the end of his legend?